The summer heat shimmered above the asphalt as if the road itself breathed. At the edge of a dusty, small-town gas station, just off Highway 17, a German shepherd lay curled beneath a rusted vending machine. His coat, once thick and glossy, was now mottled with dust, burrs, and the early signs of neglect. But his eyes, those warm, amber eyes, burned with something unwavering. Rex had been waiting. Every morning, just before dawn, he would stir from his resting place, stretch his tired limbs, and trot to the edge of the lot. He'd sit there, ears perked, eyes scanning every vehicle that rumbled in off the highway. Pickup trucks, minivans, motorcycles. Each time, his body tensed, tail twitching, breath held. And then a sigh. Another false alarm. He would retreat back to his place, laying his head on his paws, but never truly resting. The old woman who ran the gas station had noticed him a few days after he first appeared. "Just a stray," she had muttered to a customer. "But there's something different about this one. Like he's waiting for someone." It had been a month since that day. Then 2. Then 6. Seasons passed with the subtle slowness only small towns truly understood. Snow melted into spring, and the highway rumbled on, indifferent. Rex never left. Each day he sat beside the road like a soldier on watch. His loyalty never wavered. His eyes never dulled. Sometimes he would sprint a few steps toward a familiar make of car, barking with excitement, only for his ears to drop when a stranger stepped out. A whimper, a quick turn, and back he'd go, tail low but not tucked. Never tucked. Because Rex believed. Somewhere deep in his chest, deeper than the hunger, the ache, the loneliness, he believed his boy was coming back. The memory clung to him like a warm blanket against the night chill. The last moment he had seen his family, the screeching tires, the sudden chaos. A dropped leash. The panicked shout of his name. Rex. The car had sped off down the road in a swirl of smoke and gravel. They hadn't meant to leave him. He knew that. He'd stayed right where they'd last been, certain they would return in minutes. Then hours. Then days. 4 times a day, trucks rolled in with deliveries. Sometimes the drivers would toss him a bit of jerky or a crust from a sandwich. One had left an old wool blanket near the vending machine. Rex dragged it into his spot, circling 3 times before lying down as if trying to make it smell like home. But nothing smelled like home anymore. One afternoon, a group of teens wandered in, laughing loudly, music blasting from a Bluetooth speaker. One of them, spotting Rex, grabbed a bottle cap and flung it toward him. "Bet he's too dumb to move," the kid said. The cap bounced off Rex's nose. He flinched, more in surprise than fear. But he didn't growl. He didn't bark. He didn't leave. He simply turned his face back toward the highway. The gas station owner, Miss Darlene, chased them off with a broom, shouting curses and waving her arms. "That dog's been through more than you punks ever will," she snapped. "Go throw your trash somewhere else." Rex glanced at her briefly as she huffed her way back to the store. She left a can of wet food at the edge of the lot. He waited until she went inside before patting over and eating it carefully, as if grateful but polite. One stormy evening, the wind howled like a train through the trees. Rain fell in sharp, sideways sheets. Most people would have taken shelter. But Rex stayed at his post, just slightly under the station's canopy. His fur soaked through, eyes blinking against the storm. A truck pulled up. The driver rolled his window down and looked at him. "You still here, boy?" he asked softly. Rex stood there. "You're waitin', huh?" The man shook his head. "I hope you're right." The truck rumbled off. Behind Rex, lightning cracked. He didn't flinch. He just waited. Locals started calling him loyal. Some said he was like Hachiko, the Japanese dog that had waited for years at a train station. Others said he was just a stray with nowhere better to be. But Rex knew. He had somewhere. He had someone. His boy had red hair and a laugh that made birds stop to listen. He remembered the boy's arms around his neck, the way they'd run across fields, Rex leaping like he could fly. The scent of peanut butter from sticky hands. The way the boy would whisper secrets into his ear, like Rex was the only one in the world who could understand. He remembered that most of all. Sometimes, when the stars were bright and the night was still, Rex would whine softly in his sleep, paws twitching. Dreaming of home. Of laughter. Of belonging. It had been almost a full year now. One morning, just as the sun crested the trees, a minivan pulled into the gas station. Rex perked up, something flickering in his chest. The door opened. A pair of boots hit the pavement. A child stepped out. Rex froze. But it wasn't him. Not his boy. The child stared for a moment, then smiled, but Rex had already lowered his head and turned away. The woman pumping gas noticed him. "That poor dog," she murmured. "Why doesn't someone take him in?" Miss Darlene shook her head from the doorway. "You try. He won't go. Won't follow no one. He's waitin' for someone specific." And then quieter. "Ain't that something?" A week later, snow began to fall again. The first flakes of the season drifted onto Rex's back like silent whispers from the sky. He sat, unmoving, eyes locked on the endless stretch of road. His fur was thinner now. A limp had developed in his back leg. But his heart, his stubborn, loyal, fierce heart, was still whole. And it beat with one word. So, winter came heavy that year. The kind of cold that made the air brittle and sharp, where every breath puffed into a white ghost and disappeared into silence. At night, the wind howled through the trees that lined the highway, and the gas station lights flickered as if the cold was trying to swallow them too. And still, Rex waited. The old wool blanket had long since turned to rags. Miss Darlene had tried to give him a new one, bright blue, soft, but Rex had dragged it aside and returned to his familiar spot near the vending machine. He wasn't there for comfort. He was there for them. 2 years had passed since the day they drove away. The world kept moving. Cars came and went, children grew, new dogs barked from the back seats of SUVs. The gas station was repainted, the vending machine replaced. But Rex remained constant, an unmoving shadow in the background, always watching the road. He was thinner now. His ribs peeked through his coat, and the limp in his back leg had become more noticeable. Miss Darlene started calling animal control, just to get someone to help, but every time they showed up, Rex would vanish like mist, slipping behind the station or darting into the woods. He never strayed far, but he wouldn't go with them either. "He's smart," the officer had said, scratching his head. "Too smart. Loyal. Probably the only reason he's still alive out here." Miss Darlene nodded. "He's waitin'. That's all." One afternoon, a group of boys on skateboards rolled through. One of them tossed a half-eaten hot dog toward Rex. "Look at him, still here," one snorted. "Bet he's too dumb to figure out they're never coming back." Rex didn't move. He just stared down the road as always. The boy turned away. But one of the others stayed back for a second. A quieter kid. He looked at Rex for a long time, then whispered, "I hope they do come back, buddy." He set down an unopened bag of jerky and walked off. Rex didn't eat it right away. He waited until the lot was empty and quiet. He always waited. He never rushed. Every movement was deliberate, careful. It was as if he believed that leaving his post too long might make him miss something important. One night, thunder rolled over the hills like a war drum. Rain came in sheets, drowning the parking lot, pooling in the low places where Rex usually slept. He stood in the downpour, shaking from more than just cold. He didn't bark. He didn't whimper. He just stood there, soaked to the bone, watching the road like it might split open and deliver his family back to him. Miss Darlene watched from inside the station, tears in her eyes. "This ain't right," she whispered to herself. "He shouldn't still be here. It's not right." She grabbed an umbrella, wrapped herself in a coat, and stepped into the storm. Rex didn't move as she approached. He allowed her to stand beside him, shield the worst of the rain, even rest a hand on his wet fur. "I don't know who they were," she said softly, "but they're out there, somewhere. And they don't deserve you, you beautiful boy." Rex looked up at her, eyes glinting through the storm. Spring brought warmer air, and with it, more travelers. Some snapped pictures of Rex, fascinated by his story. The waiting dog, they called him on social media. A post went mildly viral once. A blurry photo of him sitting like a statue, captioned, "This dog has been here for years. Locals say he's waiting for someone." A few people offered to adopt him. One even brought a leash and tried to coax him into her car. Rex stood up, tail low, ears back. She knelt down and whispered, "Come on, boy. You don't have to be out here anymore." He took one step forward, then stopped. He looked at the road and turned away. That summer, the heat returned with a vengeance. The pavement burned. Rex would rest in the sliver of shade beside the vending machine, breathing slowly, watching the haze rise from the highway. Flies buzzed. Time crawled. A new delivery driver named Rick started bringing him cold water and ham from his sandwich every Tuesday. "You remind me of a dog I had once," he told Rex. "He waited at the door every day, till I came home. You're just doing a bigger version of that, huh?" Rex sniffed the air, took the ham gently, then went back to watching. One Tuesday, Rick showed up late and found Rex limping badly, one paw swollen and bleeding. A rusted nail had wedged into the pad. Rick cursed, dropped to his knees, and reached for Rex. But Rex growled, not aggressive, just scared. He limped away, hiding behind the station. Rick sighed, standing. "You gotta let someone help you, buddy. You can't do this forever." But Rex didn't know how not to wait. 2.5 years. Then 3. Miss Darlene placed a sign near the lot. "Please do not try to take the dog. He is not a stray. He is waiting." Some tourists thought it was sad. Others thought it was beautiful. But no one really knew what it meant to wait like Rex did. To watch the sun rise and fall, to feel the years carve lines into your bones, to suffer heat and hail and hunger, and still believe. To believe so fiercely in love that not even time could wear it away. That was Rex. He didn't understand time the way humans did. He didn't measure days by calendars or seasons. He measured them by absence, by every car that wasn't theirs, by every scent that wasn't familiar, by every voice that didn't cry out his name. He measured the time by lack. But his hope? That never thinned. Not once. Because to Rex, the only thing worse than waiting was giving up. It was late September when Sophie first saw him. She had stopped at the gas station on her way to her internship at the local vet clinic. 24 years old, fresh out of college, and eager to start her career helping animals, Sophie had seen strays before. She had treated the wounded, coaxed the scared, rescued the forgotten. But she had never seen a dog like him. He sat under the vending machine's shadow like a statue carved from loyalty and time. His fur was grizzled with gray and dust, his eyes sharp yet somehow patient. Too patient. Sophie watched him ignore a dropped sandwich near the pumps, more interested in a distant truck on the road. That wasn't hunger driving him. It was hope. She walked slowly toward him, crouching a good distance away. "Hey, buddy," she said gently. "You okay?" He didn't flinch. Just turned his head, met her gaze for a long moment, then looked back at the road. She tried again the next day. This time with a slice of turkey. On the third day, she brought a bowl of clean water and set it down. When she came back 10 minutes later, it was empty. The turkey untouched. A week passed. Then 2. Sophie came every day. She started calling him Rex, though she had no way of knowing if that had ever been his name. It just felt right. One afternoon, as Sophie sat near him with a small notebook, Miss Darlene stepped out of the store and leaned on the doorway. "You're not gonna win him over fast," she said, half amused. "That one's been waiting longer than some marriages last." Sophie looked up. "You've known him that long?" "Almost 4 years now," Darlene said, her voice softer. "He came one summer and never left. Won't go with anyone. We've all tried. But he's not lost. He's waiting." Sophie swallowed the lump in her throat. "Waiting for who?" Darlene shrugged. "Family, maybe. He had a collar once, but it was gone before the first winter. Wouldn't let us catch him to see if he was chipped. I tried. So did animal control. But he just stays." Sophie nodded slowly. "Then maybe he needs someone to stay with him." So she did. Not all day. She had work, but every morning before her shift and every evening after, she'd drive out to the gas station. She sat nearby with a book or journal, brought fresh food and water, talked to him like he was already hers. Over time, something changed. Rex started watching her, not just the road. He let her come a little closer. One morning, she found him curled in a tight ball, trembling slightly from the cold. She laid her coat beside him. He didn't move, but that night, the coat was gone. She found it the next morning, dragged to his spot and slept on. Progress. 3 months passed. She learned his patterns, how he perked up at the sound of V6 engines, how he reacted when a child's laughter echoed across the lot. The way he stiffened at the scent of leather, maybe from a glove, a car seat, a memory. She never rushed him. Never tried to leash him or trap him. She just stayed. One day, as snow began to fall again, she reached out and he leaned into her touch. Her fingers brushed his ear. His eyes closed for a second. That was all it took. The next day, she brought a microchip scanner from the clinic. With Miss Darlene keeping a lookout for customers, Sophie slowly approached Rex while he lay resting. He watched her, unafraid, and when she knelt beside him, he didn't move. The scanner beeped softly. Beep. A number flashed on the screen. Her breath caught in her throat. "You are somebody's dog," she whispered, tears welling. "You really did belong to someone." She called the chip company that evening. The number was still in the registry, but the address was outdated. Phone number disconnected. The contact was a woman named Melissa Carter, last listed in a town 300 miles away. Sophie started digging. Social media. Local news archives. Online directories. Nothing current. A few days later, she posted a photo of Rex on her Instagram with the caption, "This is Rex. He's been waiting at a gas station for nearly 4 years. He's chipped, but the trail's gone cold. Does anyone recognize this face? Hashtag the waiting dog, hashtag find Rex's family." She didn't expect much. But within 48 hours, the post was shared over 30,000 times. A local paper picked it up. Then an animal rescue Facebook page with millions of followers reposted the story. People started commenting. "He looks like our old neighbor's dog. Is this the shepherd from Dalton Heights? I remember a family that lost their dog near a gas station years ago." And then, one message stood out. "My name is Allison. I think this dog might be my nephew's. His name was Rex. He went missing during a road trip when they stopped at a gas station 4 years ago. They never found him. My sister's family moved away after that. They were devastated. I'm calling her right now." Sophie's heart nearly stopped. Could it really be them? The phone call came the next day. Sophie sat in her car in stunned silence, the phone trembling in her hand as a woman's tearful voice spoke through the speaker. "His name is Rex. My son, Eli, he was only 8 when Rex disappeared. We stopped at a gas station, he was on a leash, but something startled him, a truck backfired, he bolted." The voice broke. "We searched for weeks. We never stopped checking shelters. We didn't think he could have survived. Eli still has his old collar in a drawer." Sophie pressed a hand to her mouth. "They're coming," she said quietly, almost to herself. "They're coming back for you." She looked through the windshield, eyes locking on Rex, sitting tall at the edge of the lot, watching the road like he had every day for 4 years. He didn't know it yet, but his wait was almost over. The air was heavy with anticipation. It had only been 2 days since Sophie had spoken with Melissa Carter, but it felt like a lifetime. The phone call had been filled with tears, disbelief, and breathless hope. Her voice had shaken when she said the name, Rex, like she hadn't spoken it aloud in years. But the moment she did, something inside her cracked open. They were coming. Melissa, her husband David, and most importantly Eli, now 12 years old. They were on their way. Sophie could barely sleep. Every night she lay awake thinking of how Rex would react. Would he remember them? Would he recognize Eli's scent, his voice? What if he didn't? What if the reunion, after all this waiting, wasn't the miracle they all wanted it to be? But then she'd think of Rex, unmoving at the edge of the road, scanning every vehicle, every face. He would know. He had to. Sophie spent the morning preparing. She brought a soft brush to gently clean Rex's coat. He allowed it with quiet dignity, standing tall as she combed through 4 years of tangles, dirt, and memories. His fur fluffed out slightly, his eyes brighter now. For the first time, he looked less like a ghost of the past and more like a dog stepping back into the world. Locals came and went, many of them now recognizing him from the viral post. Some left treats. Others stopped to snap pictures from a respectful distance. One woman brought a handmade sign that read, "Loyalty like this deserves a happy ending." Rex ignored them all, as he always had. His gaze never left the road. But Sophie noticed something. He was standing now, tail not just still, but alert. His ears turned to each sound, his body coiled not in weariness, but readiness. For years he had waited in stillness. Now, it felt like he was preparing for something. Melissa texted Sophie just before noon. "We're 30 minutes out. We had to stop a few times. Eli is so nervous he's shaking. He keeps asking if Rex will remember him." Sophie stared at her phone, then at Rex. "He never forgot," she whispered. As the sun reached its highest point, a silver SUV pulled into the gas station. It moved slowly, like it knew this wasn't just any stop. Sophie stood to the side, heart pounding. Rex didn't move. The car door opened. A woman stepped out. Melissa. Her eyes scanned the lot until they landed on the shepherd. She raised a hand to her mouth as tears spilled down her cheeks. "Oh my God, Rex." The passenger's side opened next. And there he was. Eli. He was taller now, all long limbs and floppy hair, but his face still carried the same softness Sophie had imagined from his mother's stories. In his hands, clutched to his chest like treasure, was a faded red collar. He stepped out slowly. The moment his foot touched the pavement, he called out, "Rex." At first, Rex didn't move. His ears flicked. His nose twitched. He turned his head and saw the boy. Sophie watched as years fell away from the old dog's frame like dust. Rex's body trembled. His tail gave one slow wag, then another. His eyes locked on Eli, and something primal, something undeniably familiar, surged through him. He barked, once loud and sharp. Then he ran. Limping but fast, his paws thudded against the pavement, and Eli dropped to his knees just in time for Rex to crash into him. The boy clutched him, laughing and crying all at once, the collar clattering to the ground. "I knew it was you. I knew it." Rex howled, pressing his body into the boy's chest, tail a blur, tongue out, whining with a sound so full of joy and sorrow that it made everyone watching wipe their eyes. Melissa knelt beside them, arms around both, sobbing. David stood a few steps back, holding his phone, too overwhelmed to even raise it for a photo. Sophie stood off to the side, hand over her mouth. This was it. This was the miracle. The moment lasted forever, and yet not long enough. Rex curled into Eli's lap, head resting against his chest as if trying to convince himself it was real. Eli ran his fingers through his fur, whispering, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We looked for you. We didn't stop. Mom cried every night. I never forgot. I couldn't forget you." Rex licked his face. Again and again. And then something strange happened. He lay down. Not the guarded, ever-watchful crouch Sophie had seen for months, but a relaxed, complete collapse. Chest rising and falling against Eli's side. Eyes half closed. Tail wagging lazily in the dirt. For the first time in 4 years, Rex was at peace. After a while, Sophie approached with quiet steps. Melissa stood and hugged her without a word. The embrace was tight and trembling. "You gave us back a piece of our family," Melissa whispered. "I can't ever thank you enough." Sophie pulled back, eyes misty. "It wasn't me. He's the one who never gave up." Eli stood, his cheeks blotchy, and looked at Sophie with a gratitude deeper than words. "Do you think," he asked softly, "do you think he knew I was coming?" Sophie nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "He always knew. He just needed the rest of us to catch up." They stayed at the gas station for over an hour, letting Rex rest, giving him food, water, and the affection he'd waited so long for. Every so often, Eli would start crying again, and Rex would lick his face like he was comforting him. The locals watched from a respectful distance, some clapping, some taking quiet videos. Miss Darlene brought out a paper cup of lemonade and sat on the porch, watching the reunion with a soft smile. "Good boy," she whispered. "You did it." As the sun began to lower, casting golden light across the station lot, Sophie helped them prepare Rex for the drive home. She handed Eli the scanner record and explained everything she had learned. You've done more than I ever could have hoped for, Melissa said. I think he just needed someone to believe in him, Sophie replied. Melissa smiled. He always believed in us. Rex lay curled in the back of the SUV, head resting on Eli's lap, tail thumping now and then. Just before they left, Eli rolled down the window. Thank you, he called out, for waiting with him. He wasn't alone because of you. Sophie waved, blinking back tears. As the car pulled onto the road, Rex turned his head, looked at her once more, and gave a soft bark. Not a goodbye. A thank you. Then the SUV disappeared down the highway. The same road he had watched for 4 years. But this time, he was going home. The next morning, the gas station lot was quiet. Too quiet. The soft patter of paws was gone. The space beneath the vending machine sat untouched, the old, flattened patch of fur and dust empty for the first time in 4 years. A hush hung in the air, gentle, almost reverent. Like the earth itself knew a great presence had moved on. Miss Darlene stood on the porch, a cup of steaming coffee in her hand. She looked toward the highway, her gaze lingering on the space where Rex used to sit. She smiled, sad and warm at once. You earned your sunrise, boy. 150 miles away, the world looked different. The house was modest, light blue with a sloping roof and a porch full of mismatched furniture and wind chimes. The backyard stretched out into tall grass and old oak trees, with a red swing swaying lazily in the morning breeze. Rex stood at the edge of the deck, sniffing the wind. Birds chirped above him, the scent of fresh-cut grass thick in the air. He looked back over his shoulder. Eli sat on the steps, watching him with a hopeful grin. You can go, buddy, he whispered. It's your yard now. No more waiting. Rex blinked slowly, then stepped forward. His paws touched the soft grass, cool and damp with morning dew. He lowered his nose to it, snorted once, then bounded forward with surprising strength for his age. He made a slow circle around the yard, tail wagging low and steady, stopping briefly to bark at a squirrel that darted up a tree. David watched from the kitchen window, arms folded, a quiet look on his face. It's like he's checking the perimeter, he said. Melissa nodded, drying a plate. Making sure this is real. That night, Rex slept beside Eli's bed, curled in a tight crescent shape, tail touching his nose. Eli had placed the old red collar on his nightstand, and it glinted faintly in the moonlight. Rex's breathing was slow, steady. He still had the limp, still flinched at loud backfires from trucks or motorcycles. But it was clear now that he wasn't lost anymore. His ears twitched at the sound of Eli's voice in his sleep. A name murmured. A giggle. Rex opened one eye, gave a low whine, and laid his head back down, nose brushing the floor. He was home. The reunion story continued to spread. The viral post was picked up by major news outlets. The waiting dog finds his way home after 4 years. A film studio reached out for rights. People sent letters, artwork, even a handmade quilt with Rex's face stitched into it. But Rex didn't care about fame. He cared about the couch. The one that Eli snuck him onto even though the rules said no pets on the furniture. He cared about breakfast, Eli always slipping a piece of bacon under the table when his parents weren't looking. He cared about afternoon sunbeams, squirrels in the yard, and the toy duck Eli brought down from the attic. His old duck chewed, faded, still squeaking. When Eli held it out, Rex's eyes had lit up like fireworks. A week after the reunion, Sophie came to visit. She brought a care package, treats, a plush bed, and a framed print of the first photo she'd ever taken of him. When she stepped onto the porch, Rex was already at the door, tail wagging. Hey, old man, she said softly, kneeling down. He licked her face, then leaned into her with all his weight. Sophie laughed, wrapping her arms around his neck. You look 10 years younger, she said. Must be the love. Melissa came out with lemonade. David waved from the garage. Eli dashed outside barefoot, holding up the duck toy proudly. This is his favorite, he beamed. Sophie sat on the porch steps, watching Rex trot through the grass with Eli chasing behind him. You did good, Melissa said quietly. You brought him back to us. Sophie shook her head. He did all the work. I just helped him hold on. The sun dipped low again, painting the sky with oranges and pinks. Rex lay on his side in the yard, belly up, Eli's hand resting gently on his chest. The boy was talking to him in a low voice, sharing secrets and thoughts the way children do with the ones they trust most. It looked so natural. Like nothing had ever been broken. Like no time had passed at all. But 4 years had passed. 4 years of hunger, of storms, of silence and waiting. And somehow, despite everything, Rex had made it back. Because he refused to forget. Because he refused to stop believing. Because love had tethered him to a place, and when it finally led him home, it was as if time itself had held its breath, waiting for this very moment to exhale. That night, Eli posted a new photo on social media, him and Rex curled up together on the couch, the caption simple but perfect. He waited. And I came back. Love yours. It was shared over 1 million times. Some said it was luck. Some said it was fate. But anyone who had seen Rex at that gas station, who had watched him face years of absence with unwavering devotion, knew better. It wasn't luck. It was loyalty. It was love. It was the unshakable faith of a dog who believed that no matter how long it took, one morning, a miracle would happen. And it did.